The Alpe du Zwift is a notoriously difficult climb in the virtual world of Zwift and a benchmark climb for many cyclists. Here are 5 tips to help you climb it faster than ever before. But first, some general info and ground rules to prove that I wouldn't give any advice that I wouldn't follow myself. The Alpe du Zwift measures in at 7.59 miles with 3,398 feet of elevation gain, 12.2 kilometers and 1,036 meters for the rest of the world. Prior to recording this effort, my personal best clocked in at 43:04 with an average of 302 watts. Simple enough, I'll use the tips I'm giving you here in an attempt to beat that time. Here's proof of my weigh-in, nothing to hide here. Now let's dive into it. We'll kick this video off from the entry into the Alpe du Zwift time segment while we chat, and I'll speed it up a little bit in the background so we aren't here for 40-ish minutes. So the first and most important tip for improving your time up the Alpe du Zwift is to have a pacing strategy. Entering the climb with a mindset of, I'll ride as hard as I can for as long as I can, is not a strategy. Maintaining a steady effort without surging is what we're aiming for here, and there's a couple simple ways to help you figure out which wattage you should be aiming for. One way is to look at the data from your previous personal best time up the climb, like I showed you in the beginning of this video. Give an honest assessment as to what your rate of perceived effort was on that attempt, and then adjust your wattage goal to be correspondingly higher than that personal best. If your personal best Alpe du Zwift time was achieved with a 200 watt average and your rate of perceived effort was a 10 out of 10, then your next goal may be to hold 205 watts. If your personal best was achieved with a 200 watt average and your rate of perceived effort was an 8 out of 10, then you can aim for something higher, such as 220 watts. So that's one of the great methods for setting your pacing strategy, and the second method for determining a realistic wattage for the climb is to use your FTP. Here's a link for the FTP test video that I took shortly before this Alpe du Zwift attempt, resulting in 307 watts. Since I know this climb will take me a little less than an hour, I can attack the climb with a realistic goal of holding a pace a little bit above my FTP. If you're doing a climb that will take over an hour, you can't realistically expect to maintain a level of effort that is above your FTP. So even if your FTP is different than mine, the concept's the same. If you do your homework prior to entering the climb, you can set a wattage pace that you can hold steady for the duration of the entire climb. I'm not saying it'll be easy, because it most definitely will be the opposite. But if your FTP is set properly, the science says that you can closely estimate the amount of watts you can hold for a specific duration. The closer that duration is to 1 hour, the more accurate your estimation will be. And the Alpe du Zwift is the best climb within Zwift for nailing your pacing strategy too, because it displays your average watts for all 22 sector times on the left side of the screen. For reference, I'm aiming for 315 watts in the attempt you see here, and I'll move to 320 watts at hairpin 10 if I feel good, or down to 310 watts at the same location if I feel bad. You should use your sector averages to ensure you're sticking to your pacing strategy. Let's talk about your bike selection. Make sure you're using the best bike and wheels available to you, as this can make a significant difference in your overall time. The Zwift Insider website has all the different frames and wheels ranked in order of their climbing abilities, and as a level 28 Zwifter, the best climbing combination currently available to me is the Canyon Ultimate CFR frame on Zip 353 NSW wheels that you see here. Listen, there's plenty of great choices. Use Zwift Insider's website and don't let me catch you slogging up this climb on a mountain bike. Alright, I've said it a million times, and it's about to be 1,000,001. The next tip is to stay seated. Try to stay seated as much as possible while climbing, because standing up is less efficient and therefore it's more tiring. However, if you need to shake out the legs or the gradient is too steep, don't be afraid to get out of the saddle for short bursts. At the end of the day though, your body will generate more power efficiently while seated than if you're standing. So do your best to remain in the saddle and focus on being smooth and maintaining a good cadence. Speaking of cadence, the fourth tip is to pedal at a high cadence. Select a gear that allows you to pedal at a cadence of around 80 to 95 revolutions per minute, as this will allow you to pedal more efficiently and reduce the strain on your muscles. This goes hand in hand with the previous tip and falls under the bigger umbrella of movement efficiency, which results in less wasted energy where it can be avoided, meaning you can spend more energy where it matters. The fifth and final tip for climbing the Alpe du Zwift faster is to fuel your body during the effort. You've probably noticed a trend by now where the previous tips have been focused on making the most efficient use of the energy you have in your system. This tip is insanely important and so many people get it wrong. The average time spent climbing the Alpe du Zwift is between 60 and 90 minutes, and you'd be crazy not to be putting energy into your system for a grueling effort that takes such a long time. Personally, when I'm putting out power that's near or above my FTP, I find it pretty difficult to eat solid foods, so I'll drink my carbs with a carbohydrate mix in my bottle. If you want to get nerdy with it, specifically, I have glucose and fructose in the form of sugar mixed with maltodextrin. I'll make another video diving deeper into ride fuels, but the larger point here is that you are expending massive amounts of energy on this climb, and if you aren't regularly putting energy back into your system, you're robbing yourself of performance. It's as simple as that. Put more energy in so you can push more energy out. Alright, so now you've got my 5 tips, and I've been turning myself inside out in the background, so let's check in as I come across the finish line. As a reminder, my previous best is a time of 43:04 at 302 watts, and on this attempt I've been keeping track of my PR ghost as well as my sector times in average watts, so after the first dozen sectors I was pretty confident I was going to beat my time. Put in one last dig at the line, and boom! There it is! The tunnel vision ends and the outside world comes rushing back. You know the feeling. Here's a screenshot of the segment data from this attempt showing that I cut 2 minutes 10 seconds off my time and pushed 17 more watts, and I used all the same tips that you heard in this video. The KOM jersey is a nice prize too, and hilariously, I lost it exactly 9 seconds later. Stay humble, folks. There is always a bigger fish in the ocean. There you have it, 5 tips for improving your time up the Alpe du Zwift. Remember, climbing any mountain takes practice, especially one as intimidating as the Alpe du Zwift, so don't get discouraged if you find it difficult at first. With time and effort, you will improve your climbing technique and become a stronger rider. You guys are the absolute best. Keep liking these videos and leaving great comments. This time I want you to tell me your favorite real-life climb. So swing through the comments section and let's hear it. And until next time, my suffer buddies, have a great ride.